The alien's fist slammed into the human soldier's face. Or it would have, if the man hadn't moved with impossible speed, dodging the blow and retaliating with a precise nerve strike that dropped the Rakari enforcer where he stood. Corporate mercenaries drew their weapons as human guards leveled rifles at the snarling alien troops. Rakari expedition leader Vox smiled thinly, watching the tense standoff with a predator's gleam in his eye. These humans were far more than they first appeared. When Vox's survey ship Arturia had detected an uncharted human colony on this remote world, he'd anticipated easy profits. Now it seemed this weak branch of humanity had evolved into something new, something he would enjoy exploiting. The colony's head of security, a grizzled bear of a man named Samuel Powell, glared at Vox with electric blue eyes. The message was clear: interfere with his people, and there'd be hell to pay. Sam stalked back inside the colony's walls without another word. As Vox's team returned to their shuttle, the expedition's xenoanthropologist, Dr. Lena Sorensen, watched Sam go with worried eyes. She alone grasped the implications of what they'd witnessed. If Vox uncovered the colony's secret, he'd stop at nothing to monetize their genetic gifts. Lena set her jaw. One way or another, she'd unravel the mystery of this lost branch of humanity, and she'd make damn sure their evolved potential didn't become a pawn in Vox's corporate games. The future of the entire human race could hang in the balance. Aboard the Arturia, Vox paced the command deck, his teeth bared in a predatory grin. The implications of Dr. Sorensen's report were staggering. If these humans truly possessed the abilities she described, they represented an unparalleled opportunity for ThedraCorp. Exclusive access to their genetic gifts could catapult the company to heights even Vox had never dared imagine. He turned to his assembled senior staff. We must secure this colony's cooperation, by any means necessary. Failure is not an option. Over the following days, a stream of gifts flowed from the Arturia to the human settlement. Advanced tech, luxury goods, rare delicacies, all concealing the surveillance devices that would be Vox's eyes and ears within the colony. Through the hidden cameras, Vox witnessed marvels that defied belief. A woman walked through walls as if they were air. A man floated in the colony's central square, manipulating gravity with a thought. A child scribbled equations on a touchscreen, solving in seconds problems that would stump ThedraCorp's brightest minds. Vox's anticipation built with each new wonder, only to curdle into frustration as the colony rebuffed his overtures. Not a single gift passed the settlement's threshold. His rage boiled over when the hidden cameras caught Sam using telekinesis to fling a crate of Rakari delicacies into a nearby chasm. Realizing that subtlety had failed, Vox summoned Akron Zal, his chief enforcer. Begin training your troops in anti-human tactics. Use the surveillance footage to pinpoint their weaknesses. We must be ready to pacify this colony by force, if necessary. As Vox schemed, Dr. Sorensen paced her quarters, mind racing. During their last heated exchange, Vox had let slip his intention to subdue the colony at any cost. She could no longer remain a passive observer while he plotted against the innocent settlers. But who among the Arturia's crew could she trust? The answer came from an unlikely source. Niara, the ship's Elaxian navigator. Known for her discretion and open mind, Niara agreed to help Lena uncover the truth behind their mission. Huddled over a console, the two women scoured the Arturia's databases, searching for any scrap of information about the colony's origins. Their perseverance was rewarded with a shocking discovery: fragments of a deleted manifest, revealing that ThedraCorp had rerouted the Arturia to the colony's coordinates at the last minute before launch. Lena's mind reeled. ThedraCorp had known of the colony before the Arturia's arrival. But how? And why the secrecy? The unanswered questions hung in the air, ominous as storm clouds. While Lena and Niara struggled to unravel the conspiracy, tensions between the Arturia and the colony reached a breaking point. Vox, increasingly desperate, summoned Akron Zal to the command deck. "The time for diplomacy has passed," Vox snarled. "We must force the humans' hand, stage an attack on the colony, something vicious enough to demand retaliation. When they strike back, we'll have our excuse for a full invasion." Within the colony's walls, alarms blared as Sam stared at the readouts in growing horror. Rakari troops were massing at the perimeter, armed to the teeth. The intentions of the Arturia's commander had become terrifyingly clear. Bitter dread settled in Sam's gut as he weighed his options. Fleeing the colony would save lives in the short term, but it would mean abandoning their home to Vox's clutches. If they stayed and fought, their enhancements might give them a chance. But at what cost? Sam's gaze fell on a display showing the colony's children at play, blissfully unaware of the nightmare gathering beyond the walls. In that moment, the path ahead crystallized, as sharp and unforgiving as Rakari steel. He turned to his assembled security team, face set in grim lines. No speeches, no inspiring words. Just a simple, resolute command. Battle stations! Sam's fingers flew across the control panel, initiating the colony's emergency protocols. Klaxons blared as his voice echoed through the settlement's comm system. This is not a drill. All colonists report to evacuation points immediately. I repeat, this is not a drill. He turned to Marcus Reeves, his weathered face etched with unshakable focus. Get everyone ready. We move in 30 minutes. Marcus nodded and sprinted out, barking orders to the gathering security team. Sam's gaze fell on Elena Nakamura, hunched over a hollow display, her fingers a blur of motion. How's it coming, Doc? Elena's eyes never left the screen. Almost there. The Arturia's firewalls are tough, but I've isolated a backdoor. Give me 5 more minutes. Sam grunted acknowledgement, his enhanced senses stretching outward. He could feel the Rakari troops massing beyond the perimeter, their alien minds a roiling sea of aggression and anticipation. 30 minutes later, a ragtag convoy of colonists crept through the shadows toward the Arturia's landing zone. Sam led the way, every nerve crackling with tension. They reached the shuttle bay without incident, but Sam knew their luck wouldn't hold. As if on cue, alarms shrieked to life throughout the Arturia. Sam cursed under his breath. Elena, status? Security systems are down, but they've manually detected the breach. We need to move. Now! Sam made a snap decision. Get everyone on board. I'll buy you time. Before Marcus could protest, Sam was already moving. He strode toward the bay entrance, electricity arcing between his fingertips. The first wave of Rakari troops rounded the corner, weapons raised. Sam didn't hesitate. He thrust out his hands, and a wall of crackling energy slammed into the aliens, sending them flying. More poured in behind them, and Sam became a whirlwind of motion, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to dance between plasma bolts and energy blades. Behind him, the shuttle's engines roared to life. Sam allowed himself a small smile of satisfaction before refocusing on the battle at hand. Aboard the shuttle, Elena's hands danced across the controls. We're clear of the bay, setting course for... A proximity alarm cut her off. Marcus leaned forward, squinting at the readout. We've got company, small craft, closing fast. Elena's brow furrowed. It's not Rakari. The energy signature is... human? Before they could process this new development, space lit up around them. The Arturia had opened fire, its weapons locking onto both craft. Marcus's heart made. Whoever that is, they're about to get vaped. We can't just... On it, Elena interrupted, her fingers already adjusting their trajectory. The shuttle banked hard, racing toward the battered fighter as it tumbled end over end. 10 seconds ticked by as Elena maneuvered the larger craft into position. With a teeth-rattling clang, the two ships connected. Marcus raced to the airlock, wrenching it open to reveal a battered and bruised Dr. Lena Sorensen. As Marcus helped her aboard, Lena clutched a data crystal in her trembling hand. You need to see this, she gasped. All of you. It changes everything. The shuttle accelerated away from the planet, leaving behind the Arturia's barrage and the fate of Sam Powell. In the cargo hold, shell-shocked colonists gathered around a hollow projector as Lena began to speak. What I'm about to show you goes beyond corporate greed or exploitation. This is about the very future of humanity. As Lena's revelations unfolded, the stolen shuttle plunged deeper into uncharted space, carrying with it the hopes, fears, and extraordinary potential of Earth's lost children. The shuttle lurched as another volley from the Arturia screamed past, missing them by mere meters. Elena's squeezing hardened on the controls as she pushed the engines beyond their limits. "We can't keep this up," Marcus growled, eyes locked on the rear sensors. "They're gaining on us." Lena clutched the data crystal, her face a mask of grit. "We need to broadcast this information. It's our only chance." Elena nodded, fingers flying across the console. "Patching into the long-range transmitter now, but we'll need to drop out of FTL to get a clear signal." Marcus cursed under his breath. "Do it. I'll try to buy us some time." The shuttle decelerated abruptly, stars snapping into focus around them. Marcus sprinted to the weapons station, priming what few defenses they had. Lena connected the data crystal to the transmitter, heart pounding as she initiated the upload. "Sending now? Come on, come on!" The ship rocked violently as the Arturia's weapons found their mark. Alarms blared throughout the shuttle. "Hull breach in Section 3, Elena shouted. "Sealing bulkheads!" Marcus returned fire, but their puny weapons were little more than an annoyance against the Arturia's shields. He gritted his teeth, knowing they were seconds away from being blown out of the sky, or worse, captured by Vox. Suddenly, the comm crackled to life. A crisp, authoritative voice cut through the chaos. "Unidentified shuttle. This is Captain Taylor Rhodes of the Sovereign League destroyer Nemesis. We've received your transmission and are moving to intercept. Hold your position." Relief washed over the shuttle's crew as a massive warship dropped out of FTL between them and the Arturia. The Nemesis's weapons powered up, a clear warning to Vox and his crew. "Shuttle crew, prepare for emergency docking," Captain Rhodes commanded. "We'll sort this mess out aboard the Nemesis." As Elena maneuvered their battered craft toward the destroyer's hangar bay, Lena sagged in her seat, the weight of their narrow escape finally hitting her. She looked around at the shell-shocked colonists, their faces a mix of fear and cautious hope. "We made it," she whispered. "But what about Sam and the others left behind?" Marcus's eyes hardened as he stared at the shrinking form of the Arturia through the view screen. "We'll find a way to save them," he vowed, "no matter what it takes." Little did they know that even as they found temporary safety aboard the Nemesis, Sam Powell was facing a nightmare back on the colony world. The plaza where he made his last stand lay in ruins, shattered by the titanic clash between his telekinetic powers and Vox's forces. Sam's enhanced senses screamed a warning as Vox raised a sleek alien device. Before he could react, a wave of sickening energy washed over him. His connection to his powers vanished, leaving him staggering and disoriented. "Fascinating," Vox purred, circling the weakened human. "It seems our new toy works even better than advertised." Akron Zal, nursing a dislocated shoulder from Sam's earlier attack, snarled and moved to strike the defenseless man. Vox held up a hand, stopping his enforcer. Now, he chided. "Our guest here is far too valuable to damage unnecessarily." His predatory gaze locked onto Sam. "You're going to tell us everything about your little band of mutants, Mr. Powell, starting with where that shuttle was headed." Sam spat blood, glaring defiantly at his captor. "Go to hell?" Vox's smile never wavered. "Oh, I think you'll find I can be quite persuasive. Bring the others." Sam's heart sank as Akron Zal dragged forward the handful of colonists who hadn't made it to the shuttle. Among them was Jillian, Marcus's wife, her eyes wide with fear but chin raised in defiance. "Now then," Vox continued, his tone deceptively pleasant, "shall we begin?" As the first screams echoed across the ruined plaza, Sam fought to maintain his composure. He had to hold out, had to give the others time to get help. Somehow he would find a way to leave a message, a clue for any would-be rescuers. His gaze fell on his dog tags, glinting in the alien sunlight. An idea formed, a risky move born of pain and desperation. As Vox's interrogation intensified, Sam began the painstaking process of bending the metal, encoding a message only a select few would understand. Light years away, aboard the Nemesis, Lena and the colonists found themselves facing a new challenge. Captain Rhodes, while sympathetic to their plight, was bound by the complex politics of the Sovereign League. "I believe your evidence," she explained, her scaled calyxy features set in a grim expression. But Thedra Corp has powerful allies. They're already moving to bury this. Marcus thumped his hand on the conference table. So that's it? They get away with everything? Taylor's reptilian eyes narrowed. I didn't say that. We'll need to move carefully, gather more proof. And, she added, her voice lowering, we'll need to find a way to rescue your people without starting an interstellar incident. Elena leaned forward, her enhanced mind racing through possibilities. What if we could find allies outside official channels? Someone with the resources to help us, but not bound by sovereign red tape. The captain's mandibles clicked thoughtfully. I might know of a place. An old Accolon outpost, home to various, shall we say, unconventional individuals. If anyone can help you mount a rescue op under the radar, it's them. Lena nodded, a spark of hope rekindling in her chest. Then that's where we need to go. Sam and the others are counting on us. As the Nemesis set course for the remote dwarf planet, none of them could have imagined the unlikely alliance that awaited them, or the desperate battle that lay ahead. The Nemesis dropped out of FTL near the dwarf planet, its hull still bearing scorch marks from their narrow escape. Captain Rhodes led the ragtag group of colonists through the docking bay of an ancient Accolon outpost, its weathered metal gleaming dully under harsh artificial light. Welcome to Nexus Station, Taylor announced, her scaled features unreadable. Home to the desperate, the cunning, and those with flexible morals. Marcus tensed as they passed a group of towering insectoid aliens, their chitinous armor adorned with what looked suspiciously like trophy skulls. Charming place, he muttered. Lena clutched the data crystal, her nucleus tightening. As long as they can help us rescue Sam and the others. Captain Rhodes paused before a heavy blast door, her reptilian eyes narrowing. My contact should be waiting inside. Whatever you do, don't show fear. The door hissed open, revealing a dimly lit chamber dominated by a circular holotable. A figure stood with its back to them, distinctly non-human, with 4 arms and iridescent scales that shimmered in the low light. Nazra, Taylor called out, her voice carrying a note of familiarity. The alien turned, revealing piercing yellow eyes set in an angular face. Taylor, she purred, her voice carrying an unexpected warmth. I see you've brought me some interesting new toys. Before anyone could react, Elena stepped forward, her enhanced mind rapidly processing the situation. We're not toys, she stated firmly. We're here because we need your help. Nazra's eyes widened fractionally, a hint of respect flickering across her features. Bold, she chuckled. I like that. Very well, let's hear your tale. Over the next hour, the humans recounted their ordeal, the colony, Vox's betrayal, and Sam's sacrifice. Nazra listened intently, her expression unreadable. A compelling story, she finally said, tapping a data pad with one of her lower arms. But why should I risk my neck for you? Lena stepped forward, holding out the data crystal. Because what Thedra Corp is doing goes beyond simple corporate greed. They're playing with forces that could reshape the balance of power in the galaxy. Nazra's eyes narrowed, focusing on the crystal. Show me. As the holo display flickered to life, filling the chamber with streams of data and genetic sequences, Nazra's posture changed. Her scales rippled, a sign of agitation that even the humans could read. By the void, she hissed. This goes deeper than I thought. She turned to Taylor, mandibles clicking rapidly. You were right to bring them here. Marcus stepped forward, his patience wearing thin. That's great, but what about Sam and the others? Every second we waste... Nazra held up a hand, silencing him. Your friends are alive, human. My sources confirm that Thedra Corp has moved them to a remote mining station orbiting a rogue gas giant. Elena's eyes widened. How did you... I have my ways, Nazra interrupted, a predatory grin spreading across her face. And as it happens, I recently acquired a little toy that might be of use to us. She activated a holo display, revealing the image of a battle-scarred but undeniably formidable Sovereign-class destroyer. Ladies and gentlemen, Nazra announced, her eyes gleaming with anticipation, meet our ride. Hours later, the stolen destroyer dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system. On the bridge, tension crackled like static electricity. Nazra stood at the helm, her forearms manipulating controls with practiced ease. "Stealth systems engaged," she reported. "We're invisible to their sensors. For now." Marcus gripped the edge of a nearby console, his fist clenched. "How long until we're in range?" 30 minutes, Nazra replied. "Just enough time for your team to gear up." As the humans hurried to the armory, donning combat suits and checking weapons, Elena found herself face-to-face with Nazra. "I need to know," Elena said, her voice low. "Why are you really helping us?" Nazra's eyes narrowed, her scales shifting in complex patterns. "Let's just say I have my own score to settle with Thedra Corp. Now, are you ready to raise some hell?" The mining station loomed before them, a twisted metal behemoth against the swirling backdrop of the gas giant. Nazra's destroyer slipped past the outer defenses, using stolen clearance codes to dock at a maintenance airlock. "Remember," Nazra growled as they prepared to breach. "We go in hard and fast. Find your people, grab the data, and get out. Any questions?" Marcus hefted his pulse rifle, a grim smile on his face. "Just one. When do we start?" The airlock exploded inward, and chaos erupted. Thedra Corp's security forces were caught completely off guard. Nazra led the charge, her forearms wielding an array of deadly weaponry with lethal precision. Marcus and Elena moved as one, their enhanced reflexes allowing them to dance between plasma bolts and energy blades. Lena brought up the rear, her eyes locked on a data pad displaying the station's layout. "The lab complex is 2 levels down," she shouted over the din of battle. "We need to hurry." As they fought their way deeper into the station, alarms blared and emergency bulkheads slammed shut. Nazra's team used breaching charges to clear a path, leaving a trail of destruction in their wake. Finally, they reached the sealed lab. Marcus positioned a shaped charge on the reinforced door, his hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through his veins. "Stand back," he warned. The explosion rocked the corridor, and acrid smoke filled the air. As it cleared, they saw Sam and the other prisoners huddled inside, their faces a mix of hope and fear. "Took you long enough?" Sam croaked, his voice weak but defiant. As Marcus moved to release them, Lena gasped in horror. Sam's body bore the marks of brutal experimentation, angry red scars, patches of discolored skin, and a haunted look in his eyes that spoke volumes. "What did they do to you?" Elena whispered, her enhanced senses picking up on subtle genetic alterations. Before Sam could answer, a primal scream tore from his throat. His eyes blazed with an otherworldly light, and the lab's force field shattered like glass. "They tried to cage us," Sam snarled, raw power crackling around him. "Big mistake." The freed colonists rose as one, their latent abilities surging to the surface. What had been a rescue mission suddenly became a tide of unleashed fury, sweeping through the station like wildfire. Nazra watched in awe as walls crumpled and security forces were tossed aside like rag dolls. "By the void," she muttered, "what have we unleashed?" As they fought their way toward the computer core, a new alarm cut through the chaos. Elena's eyes widened as she deciphered the warning. "They're purging the system," she shouted. "We need to get to that data now." Suddenly, a massive explosion rocked the station. Through a shattered viewport, they saw Thedra Corp reinforcements engaging Nazra's destroyer. "Time to go," Nazra growled, her scales rippling with tension. As they raced back toward their ship, Sam's enhanced senses picked up a familiar presence. He turned, locking eyes with Vox across a burning corridor. The corporate mastermind sneered, holding up a data crystal. "You're too late," he taunted, before disappearing into an escape pod. Sam moved to pursue, but Marcus grabbed his arm. "We can't! This whole place is about to blow!" With precious seconds ticking away, they made it back to Nazra's destroyer. As they disengaged from the doomed station, Sam watched through a view screen as the facility erupted in a massive fireball. In the aftermath, as they drifted amid the debris field, a heavy silence fell over the bridge. Elena looked up from her terminal, her face grim. "I managed to salvage some data," she reported, "but most of it was lost in the purge. Sam's fist clenched, his newfound powers crackling just beneath the surface. "So Vox gets away clean," he growled. Nazra stepped forward, her yellow eyes gleaming with willpower. "Not clean," she corrected, "and not for long. This is just the beginning." As Taylor's voice crackled over the comms, offering them sanctuary on a secret sovereign world, Sam knew their journey was a long way to go. Vox was still out there, and the truth behind their mutations remained shrouded in mystery. He looked around at his ragtag band of allies, human, alien, and something in between. Whatever came next, they would face it together. "Set a course," Sam commanded, his voice filled with newfound dedication. "We've got work to do." The sovereign safe world loomed before them, a swirling gas giant surrounded by a network of orbital habitats. As Nazra's battered destroyer docked with the main station, Sam felt a mixture of relief and unease wash over him. They had escaped ThydraCorp's clutches, but at what cost? The next days passed in a blur of medical treatments and debriefings. Sam paced the corridors of the habitat, his newfound abilities crackling just beneath the surface. He paused at a viewport, watching as wounded colonists were transferred to advanced medical facilities. Elena's voice cut through his brooding. "Sam, I need you in the command center. There's something you need to see." He found her hunched over a holographic display, lines of code scrolling past at dizzying speeds. "What have you found?" "It's what I haven't found," Elena replied, frustration evident in her voice. "The data we recovered is fragmented, corrupted. I can't make sense of most of it." Sam's fist clenched. "So we risked everything for nothing?" "Not nothing," she countered. "But we need more. Without concrete proof, we can't rally support against ThydraCorp." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Marcus. The man's eyes were hollow, haunted by the loss of his wife. "We can't just sit here," he growled. "Vox is out there. We need to hunt him down before the trail goes cold." Sam placed a hand on his friend's shoulder. "Marcus, I understand, but we can't rush in blind. We barely survived our last encounter." "So we do nothing?" Marcus snarled, shrugging off Sam's touch. Before Sam could respond, Taylor entered, accompanied by Nazra. The alien scales shimmered with agitation. "We've reached out to our contacts," Taylor reported. "But without hard evidence, many are hesitant to move against ThydraCorp." Nazra's mandibles clicked in frustration. "The corporation's tendrils run deep. We need something irrefutable to turn the tide." As if in answer to their predicament, alarms blared throughout the station. Sam's enhanced senses prickled with danger. What now? They raced to the docking bay, weapons at the ready. The airlock cycled open to reveal a small, battered shuttle. A lone figure stumbled out, hands raised in surrender. "Please," the woman gasped, her eyes wild with fear and exhaustion. "My name is Galena. I worked for ThydraCorp. I have information you need." Hours later, they gathered around a hollow table, examining the treasure trove of data Galena had brought. Financial records, shipping manifests, and encrypted communications scrolled past. Elena's eyes widened as she pieced together the fragments. "This is it," she breathed. "Proof of their off-world experimentation sites. But there's more." Her fingers flew across the interface, bringing up a complex genetic diagram. "The mutations, they're not natural." Sam leaned forward, his heart pounding. "What do you mean?" "ThydraCorp didn't discover latent abilities," Elena explained, her voice tight with anger. "They created them. Years ago, they captured human colonists and bombarded their DNA with mutagenic compounds." The implications hit Sam like a physical blow. "Our colony, we're descended from their test subjects?" Elena nodded grimly. "You and the prisoners Vox was holding. You're from later generations of the experiments." Rage boiled within Sam, his powers threatening to lash out. With effort, he reined them in. "We need to shut them down. All of them." Galena spoke up, her voice trembling. "It's not that simple. Thedra's operations span dozens of systems. You'd need an army to take them on." Sam's eyes narrowed, a plan forming in his mind. "Then we'll build one. But first, we need more information." He turned to Elena. "How confident are you in your hacking skills?" A predatory grin spread across her face. You have something specific in mind? Sam nodded. Thedra Corp's main shipyard. If we can infiltrate their systems, we can get the coordinates for every mutation facility they're running. Taylor's mandibles clicked in alarm. That's suicide. Their security will be impenetrable. Not if we have inside help, Sam countered, gesturing to Galena. And not if we combine Elena's cyber skills with my unique talents. As the team debated the merits of the plan, Sam's purpose hardened. They had suffered, they had lost, but now they had a chance to strike back. Whatever the cost, they would bring Thedra Corp's crimes to light and free those still trapped in the corporation's clutches. The path ahead was fraught with danger, but for the first time since their ordeal began, Sam felt a glimmer of hope. They had the beginnings of a plan, unlikely allies, and the element of surprise. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Sam's eyes met Elena's across the hollow table, a silent understanding passing between them. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Sam's eyes met Elena's across the hollow table, a silent understanding passing between them. Whatever came next, they would face it together. We need to strike fast, Sam declared, his voice carrying a newfound authority. Thedra Corp won't expect us to launch multiple attacks so soon. Elena nodded, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. I've identified 3 prime targets, their main genetics lab, and 2 prison facilities holding captive mutants. Marcus leaned forward, his eyes burning with intensity. We split into teams, hit them all at once. Nazra's scales rippled with approval. A bold strategy, but who goes where? Sam's gaze swept the room, assessing their ragtag group of allies. Elena, Marcus, and I will take the genetics lab. It's on Zeta Virginis 4, an abandoned Krillin colony. The mutagen source, Elena added, her voice tight. Sam continued. Nazra, you and Taylor lead the prison raids. Altair 5 and Troglin. The alien nodded, mandibles clicking. We'll free every last captive. As the teams prepared, Sam felt a weight settle on his shoulders. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about uncovering the truth and freeing those still trapped in Thedra's clutches. Hours later, Sam's team approached Zeta Virginis 4. The planet's surface was a patchwork of abandoned structures and overgrown vegetation. As they neared the genetics lab, a hail of plasma fire erupted from concealed turrets. They were expecting us, Marcus shouted, diving for cover. Sam's powers surged, creating a shimmering barrier that deflected the incoming bolts. Elena sprinted forward, her enhanced reflexes allowing her to weave through the barrage. She reached a control panel, fingers flying across the keys. I'm in their systems, she called out, shutting down defenses. Now! The sudden silence was deafening. Sam lowered his barrier, scanning the area. Let's move, we don't have much time. They fought their way through the facility, encountering fierce resistance from Thedra's security forces. Sam's abilities grew stronger with each passing moment, as if responding to the charged atmosphere of the lab. Finally, they reached the central chamber. Elena immediately set to work on the main computer, bypassing layers of encryption. Sam, she whispered, her face pale, you need to see this. He looked over her shoulder, his stomach churning as he read the data scrolling across the screen. The mutagen's origins were laid bare, a freak radiation accident during covert experiments on human test subjects. No, Sam breathed, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. Our colony were descended from their victims. Elena's voice was soft, filled with a mixture of horror and awe. The accident triggered rapid evolution in the survivors. It unlocked a vast spectrum of latent genetic potential. As Sam grappled with this revelation, Elena uncovered something else. There's a treatment, she said, her tone uncertain. It could suppress the mutant abilities, but the cellular degradation risk is high. Sam's fist clenched, power crackling around him. No, I won't deny what I am. We'll master these gifts, not erase them. A distant explosion rocked the facility. Marcus's voice crackled over their comms. We've got incoming. Vox's kill squads. Download everything, Sam ordered Elena. We need to go, now. They sprinted through the corridors, the sound of pursuit growing closer. As they reached their ship, Sam glanced back to see Thedra forces pouring into the lab. Moments after they lifted off, the entire facility erupted in a massive fireball. "Vox is covering his tracks," Elena muttered. As they broke atmosphere, their comms lit up with an incoming transmission from Nazra. The alien's voice was strained, filled with scarcely controlled fury. "We've liberated over 300 mutants," she reported. "But Tayla's been captured." Sam's mind raced. They had the evidence they needed, but at a terrible cost. And now, with Vox aware of their every move, they needed a new strategy. "Set a course for the rendezvous point," Sam commanded. "It's time we change the rules of engagement." As the stars streaked past, Sam's drive hardened. They had struck a blow against Thedra Corp, but the real battle was just beginning. With freed mutants, damning evidence, and a growing alliance of humans and aliens, they finally had the leverage to force a confrontation. Sam turned to Elena and Marcus, his eyes gleaming with purpose. "Contact our allies. Tell them to prepare for a summit. We're going to make Vox an offer he can't refuse." Refuse. Sam's words hung in the air as their ship docked with Centris Station. The abandoned corporate mining habitat loomed before them, a stark silhouette against the starry backdrop. As they disembarked, Sam felt the weight of recent events pressing down on him. The station's corridors buzzed with activity. Humans, aliens, and newly liberated mutants worked side by side, transforming the derelict structure into a base of operations. Sam nodded to familiar faces as he made his way to the command center, where Elena awaited with urgent news. "We've done it," she announced, her eyes alight with triumph. "The data we uncovered has sparked a firestorm across the galaxy. Sanctions are rolling in against Thedra Corp." Sam allowed himself a moment of satisfaction before focusing on their next move. "And Vox?" Elena's expression hardened. "Imprisoned and awaiting trial, but he's not talking." "Then we'll make him," Sam declared. He turned to the assembled team. "We need those coordinates. Elena, dig into Vox's finances. Find something we can use as leverage." Hours passed as Elena worked her digital magic. Sam paced the command center, his mind racing through possible scenarios. Finally, Elena's triumphant shout broke the tense silence. "Got it!" she exclaimed. "Offshore accounts, shell companies. Vox has billions squirreled away." Armed with this information, Sam confronted the imprisoned Thedra Corp CEO. Vox's smug demeanor crumbled as Sam laid out the extent of their knowledge. Faced with personal ruin, the man's purpose faltered. "Fine," Vox spat, defeat etched across his features. "I'll give you what you want." With the coordinates in hand, Sam assembled strike teams for simultaneous raids on 4 uncharted Thedra prisons. He studied the holomap, focusing on a distant point labeled simply as derelict. "This one's different," Sam murmured. "A rogue colony, inhabited by mutant outcasts." Nazra stepped forward, mandibles clicking. "Then that is where we must go." The journey to the derelict was fraught with peril. Their ship navigated a treacherous field of debris and hidden defense systems. As they approached the planet's surface, Sam's enhanced senses prickled with danger. They touched down amidst the ruins of what was once a thriving outpost. Now, twisted metal and crumbling structures stretched as far as the eye could see. Sam and Nazra led their team into the depths of the facility, weapons at the ready. The first sign of life came in the form of a feral screech echoing through the corridors. Shadows moved at the edge of Sam's vision, always retreating before he could focus. They pressed on, deeper into the complex. They found the prisoners in a vast chamber, filled with nightmarish machinery. Mutants in various stages of transformation were strapped to operating tables, their screams muffled by crude gags. Sam's powers flared in response to the raw anguish permeating the air. "Get them out of here," he ordered, his voice tight with nearly unleashed fury. As they worked to free the captives, alarms blared throughout the facility. The shadows that had been stalking them coalesced into twisted forms. Failed experiments driven mad by pain and isolation. They attacked with inhuman ferocity, forcing Sam and Nazra into a desperate battle. Sam's powers lashed out, creating barriers of pure energy to shield the rescued prisoners. Nazra fought with a grace that belied her alien physiology, her natural weapons augmented by advanced technology. They were nearly overwhelmed when a massive figure emerged from the depths of the complex. The mutant overlord towered over them, its body a patchwork of mismatched limbs and pulsing organs. It let out a soul-rending howl that sent the other mutants into a frenzy. The battle that followed pushed Sam to his limits. He channeled every ounce of his abilities, feeling the mutagen in his blood respond to the challenge. Nazra fought at his side, her movements a blur of lethal precision. In the end, it was Nazra who struck the killing blow, but at a terrible cost. As the Overlord fell, it lashed out one final time, catching the alien warrior in its death throes. Sam watched in horror as Nazra was thrown against a bank of machinery, her body going limp. With the immediate threat neutralized, Sam turned his attention to the survivors. Only a handful of the prisoners were in any condition to be moved. As they prepared to evacuate, Sam cast a final glance at the spot where Nazra had fallen. To his amazement, the alien stirred. Battered and barely conscious, Nazra pulled herself from the wreckage through sheer force of will. Sam rushed to her side, supporting her as they made their way to the extraction point. As their ship broke atmosphere, Sam received reports from the other strike teams. Over 600 mutants had been liberated from Thedra's black sites. A fragile hope began to take root in Sam's chest. They had struck a significant blow against their enemies, but he knew the real challenges were only beginning. Back on Centra Station, Sam watched as the freed mutants were given medical attention and shelter. Some chose to remain, eager to contribute to the growing resistance. Others, their bodies and minds scarred by captivity, sought only peace and anonymity. As Sam made his way to the command center for a debrief, he overheard heated arguments breaking out among the liberated mutants. Some called for aggressive action to spread their gift to all of humanity. Others recoiled at the thought, desperate to find a cure for their condition. Sam's brow furrowed as he entered the command center. Elena looked up from her workstation, her expression a mix of excitement and trepidation. "Sam," she said, her voice low, "you need to see this. We've made a breakthrough in understanding the mutagen, but the implications are staggering." As Elena began to explain their findings, Sam felt the weight of leadership settle more heavily upon his shoulders. The choices he would make in the coming days would shape not just their resistance, but the very future of humanity itself. The command center's screens flickered with incoming data as Elena's eyes widened. "Sam, the mutagen's potential, it's beyond anything we imagined." Before she could elaborate, alarms blared throughout Centra Station. Security feeds showed chaos erupting in multiple sectors. "We've been breached," Marcus shouted, fingers flying across the control panel. Sam's muscles tensed as he scanned the feeds. A lithe figure darted between shadows, leaving destruction in its wake. "Zerk," he growled. They raced through the corridors, Sam's powers crackling around him. They cornered the Thedra operative in a maintenance bay, but Zerk's lips curled into a cruel smile. "Too late," the assassin hissed, revealing a pulsing device. Sam lunged forward, but Zerk had already activated it. A sickly mist billowed out, enveloping nearby mutants. Their screams turned feral as their bodies contorted. "Elena, we need a containment protocol," Sam shouted into his comm. "On it," she replied, her voice strained. "But Sam, I have to get close to synthesize an antidote." Sam's heart clenched. "It's too dangerous." "We don't have a choice," Elena cut him off. As Sam's team battled the rampaging mutants, Elena worked feverishly in her makeshift lab. Sweat beaded on her brow as she manipulated gene sequences, racing against time. Hours blurred together. Sam's powers were pushed to their limits, creating barriers to contain the infected while protecting the unaffected. Just when it seemed hopeless, Elena's voice crackled over the comm. "I've got it, a temporary metabolic inhibitor. It won't cure them, but it'll stabilize the DNA degradation." Relief flooded Sam, but it was short-lived. As they distributed Elena's treatment, reports flooded in of coordinated attacks across multiple systems. Navak, a grizzled veteran of the resistance, approached Sam. "We need to regroup, fortify our position." "No," Sam cut him off. "We need answers." his gaze locked onto the captured Zerk. "And I know where to get them." The interrogation was brutal. Zerk's smug demeanor crumbled as Sam relentlessly pressed for information. Finally, the assassin broke. "Vox, he's authorizing everything," Zerk gasped. "A galactic mutagen payload. Sleeper agents in every major colony." Horror washed over Sam as the full scope of Thedra's plan became clear. He turned to his team, commitment etched on his face. "We need to move fast. Elena, focus on mass-producing that inhibitor. Marcus, coordinate with our allies to secure supply lines." As they mobilized, a priority transmission came through. Sam's blood ran cold as he listened to the report. Vox had escaped during prisoner transfer. "It gets worse." Taylor's hologram flickered to life. "Vox just broadcasted his endgame. He's going to detonate mutagen caches across key worlds." Sam's mind raced. "We need to split up. Taylor, take Nazra and Marcus. Hunt down Vox. I'll lead the quarantine efforts." As Taylor's team departed, Sam threw himself into coordinating their defensive strategy. Days blurred together in a haze of crisis management and damage control. Then came the news they'd been dreading. Vox had been tracked to Vorash, a notorious penal colony. Sam watched the feed as Taylor and Nazra fought their way through mutated guards, finally cornering the madman. With Vox captured, Sam allowed himself a moment of hope. But as reports of contaminated systems continued to pour in, he knew their work was far from finished. He turned to Elena, his expression grim. "How close are we to a permanent solution?" Elena's eyes were ringed with exhaustion, but drive burned within them. "We're making progress, but Sam, there's something you need to see." Elena's eyes were ringed with exhaustion, but drive burned within them. "We're making progress, but Sam, there's something you need to know about the mutagen's capabilities." Before she could elaborate, alarms blared throughout the station. Sam's comm crackled with urgent reports. "We've neutralized the remaining payloads," Navok's gruff voice came through. "But we've got a situation on Thyke Prime. One of the caches detonated prematurely." Sam's blood ran cold. "How bad?" "Bad," Navok replied grimly. "Population exposure is off the charts. We need to move now." Within hours, Sam led an emergency response team to Thyke Prime. As their ship breached the planet's atmosphere, the devastation below became apparent. The once thriving frontier colony was in chaos, its streets filled with writhing bodies, undergoing violent transformations. "By the stars," Taylor whispered, her face pressed against the viewport. They touched down in a clearing near the colony's center. The air was thick with an acrid mist, carrying the screams of the mutating populace. Sam's enhanced senses reeled from the overwhelming stimuli. "Fan out," he ordered, activating his protective field. "Priority is evacuation and containment. Move!" The team spread through the colony, but it quickly became clear that the situation was beyond their worst fears. Colonists they approached for evacuation turned on them with feral rage, their bodies twisting into grotesque new forms before their eyes. Sam watched in horror as one of his elite mutant troopers, caught off guard by a lurching colonist, was infected. The trooper's eyes widened in panic as his own powers began to spiral out of control, energy crackling uncontrollably from his hands. "Fall back!" Sam shouted, creating an energy barrier between his team and the advancing horde of mutants. The infected colonists threw themselves against it, their combined strength causing it to flicker and waver. As they retreated to their ship, Sam's comm crackled to life. Elena's holographic form appeared, her face etched with despair. "Sam, I'm sorry," she choked out. "We misjudged its power. The mutagen, it's not just altering DNA, it's an evolutionary virus, irreversibly changing them into something else entirely." Sam's mind raced as he processed the implications. He looked out at the colony, now a seething mass of mutant flesh fusing into a singular, monstrous entity. "We can't let this spread," he said, his voice hollow. "Elena, prep the orbital platforms. We need to contain this at all costs." "Sam, no!" Elena gasped, realizing his intent. "There are millions down there." "And billions more at risk if we don't stop this now," Sam replied, his face a mask of anguish. With a heavy heart, Sam gave the order. From orbit, searing lances of energy rained down on Thyke Prime. The colony vanished in a blinding flash, leaving only a smoldering crater. As they returned to Centris Station, the weight of what they'd done settled over the team like a suffocating blanket. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Worlds were enacting harsh quarantines against human settlements, fear of the mutant threat overriding all other concerns. In the command center, tensions reached a breaking point. Marcus banged his hand on the console, rounding on Sam. "We should have used the mutagen to our advantage," he snarled. "Accelerated our evolution instead of cowering from it." Navok stood nearby, his expression grim. "The unstable mutants are too dangerous. They must be euthanized before they consume everything in their path." Sam felt the crushing weight of leadership bearing down on him. He looked around the room, seeing the fear and uncertainty in the eyes of his allies. With a heavy sigh, he made his decision. "Isolate all remaining mutants," he ordered. "Those who can't be stabilized will be subjected to sterilizing treatments." The command center erupted into chaos. Shouts of protest mingled with cries of relief. Through it all, Sam stood firm, knowing the burden of this choice would haunt him forever. As they scrambled to implement the containment protocols, alarms blared once again. Marcus's voice cut through the din, panic evident in his tone. "Multiple detonations detected. Mutant saboteurs have hijacked our sterilizer payloads." Sam rushed to the main view screen, watching in horror as a series of explosions bloomed across the galaxy map. One detonation in particular caught his eye, a remote, radiation-soaked wasteland world. Before he could process the implications, a transmission cut through their communications. On the screen, a figure appeared that made Sam's heart skip a beat. It was Elena, but not as he knew her. Her form was altered, pulsing with scarcely controlled energy. Her eyes, once warm and kind, now blazed with an otherworldly intensity. "Sam," her voice resonated with newfound power, "we found a way forward. Join us in the next stage of humanity's evolution or face extinction." Sam stared at the screen, his mind blown. The choice before him was unimaginable, yet he knew he had to make it. The fate of humanity hung in the balance.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.